Well, everybody, country music apparently is also incredibly racist, just like everything else nowadays. Biden apparently has quite the temper behind closed doors, and we're going to continue the debate of Trump v. DeSantis with my guest today. All of this and more on Speechless, The Daily Show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I am your host, Kevin Phares. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we start, everybody, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. And for anything that I talk about here, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about any of the issues or just what you think about the show itself. I always read them, and I always make sure to try to get back to them as much as I can. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about everything. And don't forget, again, to like, subscribe, and share. But let's get right into it, everybody. Country music has long time been a staple of America. Just the idea of having an entire genre that's dedicated to what this country is about, oftentimes hitting on basic parts of the human experience: love, loss, God-fearing, American-loving. Country music is America's genre. It is. But apparently now it is also a staple of white supremacy to the crazy leftists as we know them, because everything to them is in some way a symptom of white supremacy. I mean, even Asians now, after the affirmative action ruling was struck down, they are also arbiters of apparent white supremacy. But let's talk about this story. I hinted at it a little bit at the end of my show on Sunday, and I really want to get into it and talk to my guest about it, especially because he was alive when this song first came out. Everybody, you might know this song. It's currently hit pretty close to number one on the Billboard Hot 100 charts and the country charts, as it's a cover by Luke Combs. But I want to play a little bit of the original and then also the cover, so you guys can truly feel exactly the similarities and the differences between the song before I get into the story. So quickly here is Tracy Chapman's version of the song, Fast Car. Amazing song, amazingly well written. She is the original writer and performer of this song. I'm only going to play a little bit of the beginning of her version, and then I'm going to get into the Luke Combs version as well. But here is Tracy Chapman singing part of this song, Fast Car.
Fast car, I want a ticket to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
Look, it's a beautiful song. It has an amazing little guitar riff in there. And it was beautiful back when it came out, I believe in the early 1990s. Amazing song, maybe even late 1980s. My guest will make sure that I get that right in a moment. But now I want to bring up the Luke Combs version, because this is the one that's currently, even back then, back when that song first came out, it was hitting the charts. Maybe not quite number one, but it was hitting the charts, and it was known as a very good song, a very popular song. Now, but it originally was in pop and R&B area, because that's what Tracy Chapman's genre more was. Now, here is part of Luke Combs's version of Fast Car. Luke Combs, being a very, very well-known country artist in today's day and age, has had multiple songs that have gone on to get gold and if not even platinum. And everybody who knows country music knows Luke Combs. Here is part of his cover of Tracy Chapman's song, Fast Car.
You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? Still gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live or die this way. So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast it felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone.
As you can see, a lot of the elements of the original are in that song. However, obviously, Luke Combs is a distinguished country artist, has made a name for himself as a country musician, and it has a little bit more of a country feel, not only due to his voice and his twang, but even the way the beat of the guitar, everything like that. It's more country. But the lefties cannot simply be happy with the fact that any song that is just doing well, period. Jezebel.com, which is a lefty media blog website that is aimed significantly towards women and specifically women of color, has a headline out there: Tracy Chapman just made country music history, quote, because a white man covered Fast Car. Yes. Apparently, the only reason why Tracy Chapman's song is doing well is because a white man covered it, according to Jezebel. It's absolutely insane. Chapman, the real history that's being made here is that Chapman is the first black woman songwriter to have a #1 hit on Billboard's country airplay chart, thanks to Luke Combs' cover of the iconic song. However, this blogger goes on to basically blame white supremacy for the entire fact that it's on the #1 chart, despite the fact that even when asked about how well the song is performing, Tracy Chapman humbly said, "I never expected to find myself on the country charts, but I'm honored to be there." Chapman told Billboard in a characteristically graceful statement. She continued, "I'm happy for Luke and his success and grateful that new fans have found and embraced Fast Car." Combs' covered premiere in April 2023 and immediately racked up 46 worldwide million streams. Apparently, he's even included Chapman's hit on his set list throughout the years. He has, because he loved the song, and he's talked about how much he loves the song. It's lyrically, it's an amazingly written song. Musically, it's simple but catchy. And obviously, a lot of people like it. However, this blogger continues to say it is profound to witness Chapman receive long overdue acclaim from country radio, an institution that's historically been hostile to African American. Sorry, my page froze here. I can cut that out. An institution that's historically been hostile to black singer-songwriters, especially to women who don't exclusively sing about daddy and daydreams about Mr. Right. Okay, here's the thing that this blogger is saying that's crazy. So she is saying, especially to women who don't exclusively sing about their daddy and daydreams about Mr. Right. That is not actually what is significant about a female country artist sing about. It's actually kind of a common joke that men tend to sing about loving country, being God-fearing, and losing the girl and hoping you can get her back, kind of more poppy stuff. But then women, if you listen to it, Miranda Lambert has a song, has Gunpowder and Lead. She has Mama's Broken Heart, which are crazy tunes. And you have Carrie Underwood, who talks about literally finding her boyfriend cheating on her. And so she digs a key into the side of his car, writes her name in the leather seats with her key, and then bashes his headlights with a Louisville Slugger. So any country female artist that's singing about daddy's daydreams might be Taylor Swift back in 2008. But I don't really hear that hitting #1 today. Anyways, keep going. This blogger says, but this success has only arrived on Combs's cowboy heels, and it's just kind of a bleak dose of reality. Though I'd love to see more of Chapman, preferably performing her own dang song, I'm glad my girl's at least getting newfound recognition and royalty paychecks. Why can't you just be happy? This was not about race in any way, shape, or form. Tracy Chapman was not known as a country singer. Luke Combs was. He covered a song he liked, and it did really well because he has an amazing voice. The grainy voice added a different characteristic to it. This happens all the time. Chris Stapleton covered the song Tennessee Whiskey. That one went further up than the original ever did. I forgot who the original's by. For the sole purpose that Chris Stapleton's performed a lot better. This happens all the time in country music. People cover popular songs by other artists, and they can do better when a different voice is singing them. It has nothing to do with white supremacy, and it's absolutely insane to me. Joining me today is my good friend and host of the David Paul Blumenshine Show, and I want him to lay out exactly what he thinks about all of this and what I just said. I'm David Paul Blumenshine, again, host on Cities 92.9, the David Paul Blumenshine Show. Go check him out on YouTube and everything.
Well, I mean, obviously you hit upon a lot of good points there. First and foremost, when the song originally came out, it was a really good song. I loved it. I never really took in consideration what the color of any music person was back in my day, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 70s. I mean, we had Motown. I didn't pick and choose what was a good song by the color of a person's skin. I guess it was a different time then because we had already gone through the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
We were growing. We were coming together as people, as one nation under God, rather than the divisible nation that seems to be of the 2023. Actually, it started somewhere around 2020, possibly a few years before that. But Tracy Chapman, great artist. Good to see that her song, which I loved then, and hearing Luke Combs, man, I even love it even more. I mean, good for both of them because they both benefit, right?
Well, exactly. And the other thing I hate too, so there's a few things. First off, because I'm a huge music fan and especially country music. I love country music.
There you go.
And so, like I said, there are so many songs that are covered by different artists, and you don't even realize they are covers until afterwards. And like you said, the race has nothing to do with it. I'll be frank. Yes, not many Black women have really succeeded significantly in the country field, but a lot of times their voices are not the same as country.
Well, yeah, I mean,
As what is considered characteristically
in
country.
Gospel they have.
Exactly.
How many
white people do you see performing really well in Motown or in
Indian people? I mean, once again, it's all about identity. Can we just stop long enough to realize that color is the color of a person's skin is truly skin deep?
Yeah.
And ultimately, the issues that face our nation is, as I've heard it said many times, we don't have a skin problem. We have a sin problem.
Yeah.
And sin is envy, pride, all these issues that keep being brought up. I mean, I'm sure that Luke Combs and Tracy Chapman have a very good business relationship. In fact, I'm certain that Tracy Chapman is benefiting monetarily.
Greatly, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so for anybody who even does want to try to come at it, I mean, here's just some facts. For anybody who wants to try to come at it and say that that country music is racist, okay, well, I mean, there's been Black artists that have done very well in country music, one of which being Darius Rucker, who transitioned from being one of the singers and musicians from Hootie and the Blowfish. And then he ended up having, I believe, a #1 in Wagon Wheel. The song Wagon Wheel over a decade ago. I mean, so that's the thing is a lot of the thing is with a lot of people nowadays, like you say, they focus on identity so much. When it comes to people who like country music, it's about how good the song is.
Yeah. I mean, I think of more of contemporary Christian, and one of my favorite songs, I Can Only Imagine, was written by the lead singer of Mercy Me. He was writing songs. He put that forth, and Amy Grant, which, you know, once again, top of the charts, right? She's everything. She was going to sing I Can Only Imagine. And when she started, she realized it didn't have the same meaning to her that it had to, and I can't remember his name for Mercy Me, the lead singer, that it had to him, because that was his life story.
Yeah.
So he ended up singing, and it went triple platinum, whatever. I mean, it's one of the highest selling songs ever, I Can Only Imagine. And, you know, bottom line is, who knows who's going to take a song to the next level? Elvis didn't write a lot of his original songs.
No, and
sang it.
He did, and that's another thing.
And
that's a lot of the things that the lefties try to attack Elvis for. When in reality, what was happening back then is there were exploitative contracts that were being given to Black people if they would even get a contract.
Yeah.
And what Elvis did is he took the voices of the people he grew up with in the ghettos of the South.
In the ghetto.
Exactly. And he took their songs, gave them more of a rock feel as to just sped them up a little bit in tempo, took them from just being R&B and created what is now known as rock and roll. And he gave voice to their stories that were not being listened to because of genuine racism back then.
I guess you wonder why you know that song? I love that beat. See, I'm getting into it. You get all these songs going on. You're right. You didn't think of who was the personality, and that just blows me away. This blogger needs to spend some more time.
Well, and this is what the left always does, is it's all about, it's simply because a Black person wrote and performed the song first, and then a white guy also did it. And because it is performing better, it couldn't have anything to do with talent or simply the fact that maybe Luke Combs was a better known name in country music now than Tracy Chapman was at the time when her song came out.
She was the if I am not mistaken, and you'd have to look this up to fact check me, but I think she was when she came out with the song Drive, she was acknowledged as an upcoming new artist.
Yeah.
Because this was a hit that she put forward, and she hadn't had a lot of hits. So she was recognized at the music awards.
She was recognized. But my point being is that, like, you're just talking about two different time periods. Maybe the song was meant to be released now. Maybe now is the time that it was meant to get the notoriety.
I'm going to go home and definitely pick it up on my sound box or whatever you call
there's my point being is that a lot of times these lefties try to narrow everything down into simply the scope of identity without considering any of the possible. I mean, we just talked yesterday on your show about how for a single day or a single event to happen, all the different things that have to go into place.
Yep.
identity is a fraction of everything that has to go into place for something to go viral, for something to blow up and become listened to by a lot of people.
The timing. You're
Timing.
right.
Timing
Everything.
is just another small
And
fraction of it.
unfortunately, sometimes people are ahead of their times.
Mhm.
Obviously, Elon Musk being one of them.
Yep.
I mean, when he originally launched Tesla, people were like, that's never going to work.
Yeah, seriously.
go.
But moving on from that, because there's been a lot coming out of the Biden White House today and some leakers and people talking. Moving on to this.
Is this another song? Eric
This
Clapton's
is
Cocaine?
Eric Clapton's cocaine. No, we're not talking as much about the cocaine today. We're still not going to get any answers from that because the White House seems to try to hide as much as they can. But here's one thing Biden can't hide out of the New York Post. Many other sources are covering it as well. Biden is quick to anger inside White House, often yells at aides, according to a report. Call him Old Yeller. They said President Biden has displayed a hair-trigger temper with aides behind closed doors and is known for cursing out White House staffers, according to a new report. The latest to contradict the octogenarian's carefully cultivated image as a folksy, kindly grandfather. Current and former Biden aides told Axios the 80-year-old president has hurled insults such as, God damn it, how the F don't you know this? Don't effing BS me and get the F out of here.
Were they waking him up from a nap? I mean, I can understand if they're waking him up from a nap.
Yeah.
You might throw a few little F-bombs out there.
But continuing, some say they are so fearful of the president's wrath that they bring along colleagues to meetings as a kind of shield against Biden's paint-stripping language. One of the senior aides even said, no one is safe. In one particularly memorable exchange, Biden bore down on then COVID czar and current White House chief of staff, Jeff Zients, in late 2021 for bungling the testing kit rollout for the Omicron variant. The commander-in-chief will also angrily question West Wing staffers in an attempt to, quote, stump them, prodding them to brief him on topics in conversation away than some have done speaking Biden. Here's a quote from Biden's chief of staff. If there is something that's not in the brief, he's going to find it. It's not to embarrass people. It's because he wants to get to the right decision. Most people who have worked for him like the fact that he challenges them and gets them to a better decision. So they're trying to hide it. But then Chris Whipple, author of The Fight of His Life Inside Joe Biden's White House, had to say, there is no question that the Biden temper is real. It may not be as volcanic as Bill Clinton's, but it's definitely there. What are your thoughts?
Or Hillary Clinton. I used to
Yeah.
hear that you better stand clear if there was a vase around the room because she might just fling that. Usually it was the intended target was Bill himself.
Yeah.
But imagine what these folks have done to the Oval Office. I mean, between the Clintons and Bidens. I mean, you didn't hear that stuff about Trump.
Mhm.
You didn't hear Trump was going into a tirade. I'm pretty certain that Trump probably dropped a few colorful metaphors.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't news, right?
Mhm.
Because it was just part of who he is. He's a New Yorker.
But when you try to
a
frame
conjunction.
yourself, it's honestly, I compare this to Bud Light. When you try to frame yourself as one thing and then go against it, people are going to be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Bud Light tried to frame themselves as being more country, redneck, fratty, but then bring Dylan Mulvaney in to be an influencer. Joe Biden tries to frame himself as just good old Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe.
Sleepy Joe
He's
Biden.
moving kind of slow at the junction. Oh, that's Petticoat Junction.
Maybe, I mean, but in terms of what you're talking about, the Trump administration, they actually compare it a little bit to that. In this article, they say Monday's report further calls into question the sincerity of Biden's day one promise to fire anyone on his staff who mistreated people, highlighted by many commentators as a genteel contrast to the rough and tumble Trump administration. According to this, Biden told staffers as he swore them in on January 20th, 2021, he said, I'm not joking when I say this. If you were ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect or talk down to someone, I promise you, I will fire you on the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I'm sure he didn't remember that.
No, probably doesn't remember that. I'm wondering if he's just maybe going through cocaine withdrawals.
Well, at this point, I'm certain there's something behind this. Wow. Amazing. I mean, once again, it's the lies, it's the hypocrisy, it defines his administration.
Absolutely.
And it defines him.
Yeah, it really has. But I mean, as we were talking about Trump, actually some big news that came out of this week, you were actually, so we'll talk briefly just so my listeners get to hear about it. So you were part of Trump's motorcade in Iowa.
Yes, I was.
Yep. And so briefly, I know we did a whole show on it yesterday, so I know you could go for 2 hours, but briefly give a little bit about that experience.
Oh, amazing experience. As we said, it takes a lot to hit the ground running with a campaign, especially someone who's a former president, because it comes with its own security risk of touching down at many airports across the nation. I happened to journey over a whole state away through the state of Iowa to be part of this event. It was Farmers for Trump. Arrived, man alive. You can only imagine what it's like to move that many people quickly through a city. It requires a lot of resources and a lot of detailed planning. I mean, that goes into it. But it was a once in a lifetime experience to think, to see Trump coming down off of Trump Force One, his own plane, how respectful he is. Now, the inside baseball is this: 5 minutes before Trump left the airport to go to Las Vegas, where we all saw that he was at the UFC fight and things like that, he had delivered to him 2 quarter pounders with cheese, a French fry. And it seemed like there were a couple other sandwiches, and it was specific. The bag had to be stapled. It's kind of pretty cool.
Interesting.
And he likes warm food.
Yep.
So they literally timed it. So when we arrived back at the airport, Trump was getting his order from McDonald's. I think there were some other people that were getting some things there. But no quarter pounder with cheese. Now, I know there's people that make fun of the fact that he has such a poor diet and he probably can't go to the beach and wear his turtle shorts. But obviously Joe can take all the turtle short wear, and I think Obama.
Well, he can. But everybody, I do want to, before we get to the next story, because Biden did have quite the temper. If you have any thoughts on what Biden had to say in his temper, I know we just kind of covered it. There's not too much more to say except for the fact that it doesn't follow the brand that he puts out there. And that's crazy to me. And he's also not quite the unifying president he offered to be either. Trump never offered to be a unifying president. And so that's why it was on brand for him to be a little bit more fiery. And it's obviously he has a lot of fun at these different events, but he did have some interesting words to say about his opponent, Ron DeSantis, at his event in Nevada, right after his event in Iowa.
Wow. Okay.
So out of the Daily Wire, and I do have a quick clip here too, but out of the Daily Wire, the former president took swipes at DeSantis. And it's really nothing new, as Trump has used plenty of diverse and derisive nicknames for the governor during the president's campaign, including Meatball Ron, Ron De-Establishment, Shutdown Ron, Ron Dishonest, DeSoros, and Ron DeSanctimonious. But there's a new insult he had during an event this weekend in which Trump spoke of the aid he felt he had given to DeSantis in his initial gubernatorial race in 2018, in which DeSantis won a narrow victory over Democrat Andrew Gillum. The prior 2 races for the governor in Florida had been decided by just a 1-point margin in 2022. However, DeSantis won by a whopping 19 points in his reelection. So obviously Trump takes a lot of credit for DeSantis's first run. And here is a quick little video of what Trump had to say at his event, I believe in Nevada.
Let's give it a shot. We did, I think, 2 or 3 rallies. I think 3 big rallies, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And they came out. I said, you're going to win. And he ended up winning. And then about 3 years later, they said to him, will you run against the president? And he said, I have no comment on that. I said, he has no comment. That means he's running. I said, that son of a bitch is running. I got him elected. So I'm not a big fan of his, and he's highly overrated. He's highly overrated. Remember, he's the one that wanted to cut Social Security. He's the one that wanted to raise the minimum age, and he voted on this. This isn't just, and the one thing you have to remember, when a politician comes out with an initial plan, and then they go into a corner because they're getting killed, because he's getting killed. He's like, his thing is going, whooshing. Well, he also has no personality. That helps, right? As a politician, you have to have personality. You saw where he wants to change his name. It's DeSantis. He wants to call it DeSantis, but you don't do it in the middle of a campaign.
Okay, well, that was Trump speaking in Nevada. I've been very clear on this show. If the election were held today, I would be casting my vote for Ron DeSantis in the primary. You're pretty honest about it as well, David. If the election were held today, you'd be voting for Donald Trump. I find that very interesting. So obviously it seemed like it was more in jest, but he did call Ron DeSantis a son of a bitch, and also called him overrated and said he has no personality. What do you think, as a Trump supporter, what do you think about him making those kinds of comments?
I think Ron knew, Governor DeSantis knew before he got in this campaign that it was going to be a brawl, and that's Trump. And it's good that Ron's not going to try to mimic even though a lot of people are saying that the way he handles himself at debates or at press conferences. Um, yeah, I think that the quote that I just shared out on the city's page says it all from
Mhm.
Tucker Carlson. Bottom line is the Republican Party needed a changing,
Mhm.
and I think that Ron DeSantis has kind of walked step in step with the traditional Republican Party, the establishment. I think that's who kind of coaxed him into getting into this race. I think he had a straight path to the White House in 2028, as I shared with you many times over.
Yep.
I didn't think he was going to get in. And somewhere along the line, I think there was enough pressure put upon him that he believed that he needed to. I don't think he was given very good advice because the numbers never were there to support a nomination for him this
Mhm.
go around. And it would take a lot for him to win. Granted, Kevin Ferris will be voting for him. So at least there's one vote here in Illinois. But unfortunately, right now, the way it's setting up, what would have to transpire between now and the beginning of the first Iowa straw poll, I just don't see a pathway. I'd want there to be a pathway because obviously he's my guy in 2028. And now I think he still can be that guy. I just think it opens the door for people like Vivek,
Mhm.
which I've seen some polling out there that shows that Vivek might, by the time this is all said and done, Vivek might overtake DeSantis.
Maybe. I'm not going to make that prediction. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But I want to put a pin.
It
in
won't
the,
be Nikki Haley.
we
Mike
both
Pence.
know that. We both
Okay.
know that. But I want to put a pin in.
Which is something I think real quick. I mean, if we want to get to it, is why would the establishment push Ron into this and then set him up with neocons like Pence and Haley? It just doesn't make sense. Something else is going on that you and I aren't privy to. And
I don't know because I don't really. I mean, simply that I don't see Ron DeSantis as simply being propped up by the establishment. I also, I mean, I know many that are involved with it. Ron DeSantis does have a bit of a grassroots feel to him as well. There are maybe not quite the same as we've had like here in Illinois with Darren Bailey and that has been mobilized for Trump in the past. But he does have a sense of a grassroots feel, and so I think that it's something that's going to be a balance for him because you're right. I mean, if you look at some of his funding is from people that have also funded people like Paul Ryan and more establishment
and Richard Irvin.
swamp creatures.
Sorry,
however,
I did that for your old buddy Eddie.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have there are a lot of people out there that are supporting that are traditionally conservative people, and you've even mentioned. I mean, you really have to look at his policy. His policy is by no means pushing. He's come out against the war in Ukraine. He has come out against sending aid to Ukraine. He's come out saying that he is in essence America first.
He's not a neocon. I agree with that, but he is surrounded a lot by neocons, and then there's other neocon candidates which is
it is a question. It is a question.
And at the end of the day, he's got to win his own home state.
I agree. He does have to win his home state. I think that's going to be a big battle. I want to put a pin real quick for just 1 minute in the 2028 comment that you have, because I have something for that. But I want to say quickly that one thing that I find is a stark contrast, and I think it's probably the smartest move right now, is when it comes to DeSantis's campaign, he is not hurling any comparable insults to Donald Trump. There have been occasional ads, I believe, put out primarily by the Never Back Down PAC and not by Ron DeSantis himself, that do go after Trump a little bit harder, pushing some of the known policies that were more liberal of Trump. For example, the bump stock ban, and coming a little bit after the Second Amendment under the Trump administration. Not to mention the fact that Trump also, when he was in charge of Miss Universe, allowing a transgender to compete in Miss Universe back in 2012. So there have been some attacks, but however, never quite the same from Trump to DeSantis. And I think Trump can do it. Trump can get away with it. DeSantis would not be able to, because the only path to victory that DeSantis has is being able to win over some people that loved Trump in 2020 and 2016, but are weary of him now. And that's the only way he could ever do it. But to get to the 2028 issue, because Ron DeSantis actually addressed this. I don't know if you saw this video, but on Tommy Lahren
Nor
podcast,
did I see the transgender person in the 2012.
I've showed it on different shows before.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch your Speechless shows.
It is back in the archives, but
obviously it fooled me.
Yep, I'll find the article for you and send that to you. But I want to show this on Tommy Lahren show last week. Ron DeSantis made an appearance and was asked directly about the question regarding why did he not wait until 2028?
Okay.
And I want your response on this, especially David. But here is that clip.
Constantly get questioned on. What do you say to those Trump supporters who say, we like Ron DeSantis, we wish he would have waited till his 2028 turn? What do you tell those people?
Well, first of all, in America, we don't have turns. People can run if they believe they have something to offer the country. And I can tell you, as somebody that's worn the country's uniform, who served in Iraq, who believes in a cause greater than myself, I believe 2024 is make or break. I don't think we have time for excuses. We're not going to get a mulligan on this one. And I think I've shown the ability to defeat the Democrats, yes, at the ballot box by winning Florida by historic margin, but also on issue after issue. We beat them on lockdowns. We beat them on education. We beat them on ESG. We beat them on illegal immigration. We beat them on transgender athletes competing with women. On issue after issue, we didn't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. And so I'll run, I'll beat Biden. But I think even more importantly than that, I will deliver on all these things, because if we don't actually deliver, then I think we're going to end up being in a hole that's going to be very difficult to dig out of. So I think I'm the guy that can get all of that done. And I think I have a responsibility to offer myself, given that that's where I'm coming from.
So what do you have to say about that, David? Especially since, like on multiple occasions, you've said he should wait his turn. A lot of people have also called to, back in, I believe it was 2012, people told Chris Christie he should wait his turn.
And is he still in the race?
He is still in the race now. But again, he's an irrelevant politician at this point. He was irrelevant when he ran in 2016, when he waited his turn. And so that's where I come from. And I think DeSantis hits on it a bit right now. He's riding off of successes.
Yeah. So I don't know about necessarily, as they termed it, turn. He should wait for his term. I think he walks into the 2028 election and there is no competition. Obviously, Trump won't be in play right now. And he is right. 2024 election is critical. And for such a time as this, I think it's Trump, good, bad, or indifferent, whether you agree with him, like him, or anything. We are at a precipice that we've never seen in this country before. And to have a fighter, somebody that's doesn't back down, versus the don't back down political action committee. But Trump is that guy. I mean, they're both saying the same thing. Trump said it many times over. There's this election. If we don't get a hold of the White House this time around, everything we know as a society here in the United States of America could be lost. He pointed out his success in Florida. Right now, as things look, unless things drastically change, he's going to have to do a lot to win his own home state. He cannot win the nomination without Florida.
I agree with you on that one.
And unfortunately, the numbers just aren't reflecting it. And once again, that could change. We've got a long way to go. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, and who knows? Maybe something happens. Unfortunately for DeSantis at this point to close the gap, what more could happen that hasn't already happened?
Well, I think the debates would be
the Trump, basically. And I think that Trump shows up for the debates,
the debates could be a big thing. And that's one thing I kind of want to hit on a little bit tangentially, not directly the debates, but there's been a lot of actions by Trump that has led me to this question a little bit. One being his talk that he's possibly not going to that he's not going to attend the debate in August. Others being, even in the way that he talks about DeSantis, he was obviously a supporter of his back when he was running for governor, but now it says he's not even a quote unquote fan of his. Now that he's running against him for president, seems very angry that anybody else would throw their hat in the ring against him. It almost seems like Trump, to me, it feels entitled to the nomination in 2024. And that rubs me the wrong way, because I believe no one is entitled to the nomination. It's simply, you should have to prove yourself now, not necessarily. And it feels like he feels entitled based on simply the fact that he claims that the 2020 election was stolen, that he had been president for 4 years and did do amazing things in 2024. I feel in a sense of entitlement
rigged.
that I didn't use
the word rigged.
That.
Rigged. The election was rigged, interfered with, which we now are realizing it was.
But my point being is that I feel, compared to 2020 and 2016, I feel as though he acts a lot more entitled to the nomination and to the party's support than I feel like anybody is entitled to.
I think he takes it personally when he's done a favor for somebody that they turn around and, and in this, because he's not going after any of the other nominees.
Which is how you know that DeSantis
is
the only one that he sees as a threat.
Well, I really think that it's a lot of political theater, because I think he is going to be on stage during the debates, but all he has to do is say that there's a possibility that he's so far ahead that he doesn't even see what the benefit of being on stage is. And he's going to be on stage. He is I will say, one of the strongest parts of Trump is the debate stage. So I don't see him forfeiting that. He has an opportunity because those guys now are in the presence of Trump. And I will tell you, he has a mystique about him, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, I saw him do it to Joe Biden. Of course, obviously he was up against not only Joe Biden, but the moderators and the crowd and everybody else. But he's still, everything he said during those debates, now we do the rewind and we realize, well, we have Joe Biden on video stating that 51 people supported him in regards to Russian collusion, now to find out that's all debunked. But yet he openly lied on stage. So I think Trump draws that out in people, that he puts them in a situation where they might say something. He by no means is he the most eloquent, gifted orator, because he's not. And however, what he's very good at is reading the room. I think he does an amazing job at that. And he sees, he strategizes, and that takes a lot in your head. And granted, he understands, he'd much rather be playing golf any day of the week than running for president. And I think he said that.
I disagree with that, though. I mean, like, he might say it, but I think he loves the attention of getting up on a stage and having everybody clap for him and laugh at the things that he has to say. I think it fuels his ego, because nobody can deny that Trump has one of the largest egos of anybody. And I think it can come off as cute sometimes.
I think that, Kevin, you and I disagree on that. And the reason is because I've seen people like Trump for many years. Trump is an introvert. At heart, he's an introvert. Unfortunately, he feels a calling to put himself in a position like this. And so, yeah, he's just playing to the crowd. It's all an act. Because if you talk to anybody that has spent any time one-on-one with him, they say, that's the personality that you see.
And I'll agree with you, but it's the way.
It's not the Trump that we see, because he's one of the most generous, kind, compassionate people. Has done a plethora of things. You can't even go on with the list of things he's done for other people that he felt that, hey, these people I was given an opportunity. I'm going to give them an opportunity.
And I want to be clear real quick, too, because when I say he has a massive ego, he thinks very highly of himself, but I'm not equating that to any type of selfishness or narcissism. Yeah. I simply think that he thinks incredibly high of himself. And that's why I think that the feeling of a calling, that he's the only one for the job, comes to him. I think part of it is he believes that because he is very self-oriented, and he has a very, very good level of self-confidence.
I don't believe that there's another person alive right now in the United States that could have endured what Trump has gone through in the past 7 years and still be in the position he is to potentially get the nomination of the Republican Party for 2024 and then win the presidency. That's the point that we're at, because the war has already started. They opened up not a biological war, not a physical war, but a war of lawfare. And that has manifested itself. It's already been proven that we are a divided country right now because of that. A lot of people are coming to realize, wait a minute, Joe has got 1,800 boxes of classified documents that he, ended up procuring during his time as senator and then vice president. And there's no raid on his house, to get the documents next to the Corvette. But yet Trump gets raided. It's such a sideshow. It's the Department of Justice being weaponized. It's the FBI being weaponized. I mean, that's even divided within the agencies. I mean, there are loyalists to the cause, to the traditional way of America. And they're upset. that's where we're seeing these leaks coming from, where they're actually saying, you know, I'm done with this. Tim Ballard with the Sound of Freedom. He worked for the government. He knew what was going on as it related to human trafficking. He had the opportunity to stay and just shut up, keep his head down, and get the government pension. But his wife challenged him. She said, could you continue to live with yourself, you know, and our children acting, you know, allowing this to perpetrate itself? And he said no. So he, you know, took a chance, right? Gave up all of his income, and he went in fighting human trafficking. Now we see the Sound of Freedom doing so amazing at the box office.
It is doing amazing at the
God's
box
children
office.
are not for sale here on Speechless.
God's children are not for sale. That'll be another story I have to cover on another day. Thank you so much for joining me, David.
You're welcome,
I really
Kev.
appreciate
It's always
it.
good to be here with you talking DeSantis. I almost said DeSantis Bush, DeSantis Trump.
Yeah. DeSantis Trump, everybody. What do you think? What do you think? Leave it in the comments. DeSantis versus Trump. Do you think Trump feels entitled? Do you think DeSantis should have waited till 2028? Why? Leave it in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if it's really good and I think it's worth talking about, I'll bring it right onto the show and show it on screen next time on Speechless. Everybody, don't forget to go check out David Paul Blumenshine on the DPB show on YouTube. It's also, we've also played on all of our Cities 92.9 stuff. Go check out Cities 92.9 on Facebook. And everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video and my account, Speechless with Kev Phares. I really appreciate you guys watching. Again, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. God bless you. And check out one of these videos that's about to come up on the sides. God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, this is Speechless, The Daily Show.